Alright, today I want to talk about something I only recently started exploring, and that is WebXR. Now, if you're like most PCVR users, you might hear the words browser VR or WebXR and immediately think it sounds like something made for standalone headsets, maybe like Quest 3, maybe some lightweight demos, but probably not something relevant to high-end PCVR like the Dream Air. But that's a wrong take, I think. WebXR is the modern web standard for immersive VR and AR experiences in the browser. And on Windows, Google Chrome's WebXR support works through OpenXR with support for SteamVR and OpenXR compatible headsets. So this is not just a standalone headset thing. This can also matter for PCVR users, including all of us Pimax geeks, of course. Apparently, there are tons of websites with WebXR. Some of them are great, others are not so good. It's a hit and miss, and the quality of the content varies a lot, just like with VR indie games on Steam. I have now briefly tried a few WebXR supported websites, some of the best, biggest and most popular ones like HeyVR, Matterport, Kula, VR Sites and a few others. And what struck me is that WebXR on PCVR is not really about replacing native PCVR games. It's more about access, convenience and flexibility. And it's made for quite a different purpose than we are used to. You open a website, you click Enter VR and you're thrown into the VR space immediately. No need to install anything, no storefront, no downloads, and that ease of access is one of the big advantages. So, what can WebXR actually be used for? Well, one obvious category is games and interactive experiences. There are sites like HeyVR that focuses on the browser-based VR games, and there are some cool examples like Moonrider, where you can jump into a VR rhythm style experience and it kind of feels like Beat Saber style of a game. Another one is Above Par Adovsky, a super cool mini golf game that is surprisingly easy to get into, but I haven't been on golf course for quite a few years now, so my poor putting skills made it a little bit embarrassing. Anyway, that kind of instant access is a part of the appeal. It's quick, it's easy, perfect for beginners or kids or even your grandma. Then there's another use case that I think is extremely interesting in VR, and that is spaces. Real estate, architecture, interiors, tourism, museums, product showcases, showrooms, and that kind of things. There are many online services providing WebXR solutions for real estate, virtual tours, virtual travels, virtual classes, and I spent almost an entire day just researching and trying them out. Matterport is probably one of the clearest and most well-known examples here. Matterport's VR mode is built on the WebXR standard, of course, and they support most VR headsets over WebXR, including VR controller interaction for movements like teleporting and other types of interactions such as navigating menus. That means browser-based immersive walkthroughs are not just some niche experiments, they're already being used for professional visualization of real-world environments. And this is where a headset like the Dream Air becomes really interesting, because even if the delivery method is just a website, the VR headset still matters massively. If you're viewing detailed environments, interiors, UI elements, text, menus, or distant geometry, then having a high-end headset with micro OLED panels and very high per-eye resolution can dramatically improve that experience. Sharper image quality helps with readability, of course. Higher pixel density helps with those fine details in those experiences, and micro OLED can also make darker scenes, contrast and overall image quality look far more premium than people normally expect from browser-based VR. The content itself might be lightweight compared to a massive native PCVR title or simulator, but this visual presentation can still benefit a lot from premium VR hardware. And I think that is the part of a lot of people are missing out. They hear the word web and assume it's just another crappy VR demo. But WebXR is really just a delivery platform. The actual experience still depends on the content, the browser support, the runtime, and of course the headset you're using. So in other words, WebXR may be browser-based, but that doesn't mean that the experience has to look or feel low-end. What could be low-end, on the other hand, is the PC you run WebXR on, which is a huge advantage, by the way. You don't need a big and powerful PCVR gaming rig to run those WebXR applications, at least most of them. In fact, my good old RTX 2080 laptop you've seen in the past videos can handle pretty much all of it with the Dream Air. And that makes WebXR with Dream Air a nice option for real estate agents or brokers, architects, and so on. Now, with that said, I also want to be realistic here. WebXR is not perfect. Not every browser supports it equally well. And there are bugs, there are glitches, and sometimes things just doesn't work with PCVR over WebXR. Throughout my days of experiencing WebXR using Chrome browser, it's clear that the WebXR device API has still today quite limited availability, and it's in so-called experimental stage. So it's not baseline because it doesn't always work in some widely used browsers like Firefox, for example. And in practice, some websites are polished while others feel more like demos or experiments. Some are even terribly bad. Frame rate can sometimes dip, and some experiences couldn't reach 90 frames per second, which actually isn't because of the GPU, but poor optimization and an experimental implementation. Also, I encountered some text font issues in a few games, some glitches, and a few times I got just thrown out of VR mode for no reason. Anyway, so if you go into WebXR expecting it to replace native VR games and experiences, that's probably the wrong expectation. But if you look at it as an incredibly accessible layer of VR content, a fast way to jump into experiences, visualizations, web-based games, interactive demos, educational tools, and virtual spaces, then it starts to make a lot more sense. And when you combine all that with high-end headsets, like the Pimax Dream Air, with ultra-high resolution, micro-OLED technology and all of its advantages, then these browser-based experiences can actually become a lot more compelling than what the term browser VR probably suggests. And I can tell you that all those games, experiences and tours I tried with WebXR look super sharp, super crisp and really impressive on the Dream Air. And yes, I'm still pretty new to exploring WebXR myself, but the more I look into it, the more interesting it becomes, no matter if you're running Dream Air, Crystal Super or even an older Pimax headset. If you have ever tried WebXR, or if you're using it daily maybe, please let me know what you think about it. That's all for today, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.